what you see around Europe is just a flowing of very negative and pessimistic scenarios, starting with the financial situation, but also with the job market. We're talking about the lost generation. We're talking about youth unemployment growing tremendously across the Union.
Unemployment remains high, close to 10%, and will remain high. In some cases, we have noticed a modest growth, but which is driven by temporary and part-time jobs. Tax wage, mostly on low-skilled jobs, and non-wage labor costs remain high and are definitely hampering job creation.
Are we honest enough to admit that since more than 20 years, all our taxation system have shifted from capital to labor force, and that this really creates a handicap for the work market.
Mismatches on labor markets increase, the famous Beveridge curve. Growing vacancies coexist with increased unemployment, which clearly confront us with the risk of structural unemployment and loss of human capital and potential due to the still inadequate educational outcomes and training provisions. The consequences are already visible. Youth unemployment has been on the rise from 15 to 21% between 2008 and 2010, and the number of youngsters who are neither in education, training or employment, the famous NEETs, rose up to 10% with some quite dramatic peak figures in some of our member states. I could add to this picture, and then you would all start crying and go home, figures concerning the level of poverty, the increasing level of poverty in most of our member states. For instance, the number of people living in jobless households increased by 10% between 2009 and 2010, and various poverty indicators show a reversal towards negative trends in 2010 in comparison to the somewhat less pessimistic outlook of previous years. Flexicurity is not meant to create jobs. It is a methodology to develop a labor policy, a labor market policy, which would ensure that either growth, when there is growth, is translated into jobs, or which would ensure that recession, when there is recession, does not end up in too damaging consequences on the labor market.
The vision is clear. Those countries that have reformed their labor markets, that have implemented their brand, their flavor of flexicurity, are doing better than those that haven't. We often hear, yeah, you're only substituting permanent jobs to temporary jobs. That's not true. About 3/4 of all those 900,000 jobs are additional jobs, jobs that wouldn't have been around if we wouldn't have been around. Then you ask yourselves, what would have happened? Well, simple. The job wouldn't, the work wouldn't have been performed, or there would have been overtime, a lot more overtime, which is worse and stress and doesn't create jobs.
Germany, Denmark, or the Netherlands, or even Austria, these countries undertook regular and profound labor market reforms along the flexicurity principles. Of course, flexicurity is not able to create jobs, but flexicurity is a necessary tool in good and also in bad times.
In the middle of this crisis, people have been starting again with this idea that you need more flexicurity. And if you look at the figure of people that have been fired in the first year of the crisis, can you say that this is really a blocked system, or is there really a very big flexibility and no security? It's going to be about investment. Public or private investment. The day it will come, how it will come, with what money, it's another topic. I'm not sure we have time to discuss it. But still, this will be the way out of the mess.
The problem is that for small businesses, which are the main source of jobs in Europe, have difficulties in access to finance, which is the key element to create new jobs. The first consequence of this situation is, and the immediate consequence, SMEs have de facto stopped to invest.
Growth and investment was the way to create jobs and to make sure you could have money to be redistributed. But if you don't really put the conditionality, they're always going to tell you, let's have growth and it will come. This is not true. This is simply not true. Because if you just have a strategy for investment and growth, it can go for outsourcing, which is not what we want, or it can go for very capitalistic enterprise.
I would like not only to mention what we call employee, but also self-employed and entrepreneurship, particularly for young people. Skills development with more reactive education and training systems and investment in lifelong learning.
Absolutely not advocating that we get dropouts, more dropouts, because they start work early. That is not the way. So the emphasis up until 20, and for those studying longer, should be on getting a solid education.
Clearly the question about who's going to pay for the next phase of the flexicurity agenda is going to be absolutely crucial to be answered to.
The cost of flexicurity, it does pay off, but it takes 10 years. And to me, actually the question to us all is how to shorten it, because we don't have those 10 years.
It's about the way these funds are programmed and used by member states at national level. They keep on saying it's our money, we know better than anyone else how to implement that. I'm going to be provocative, and that's going to be my last sentence. It's not their money, it's European taxpayers' money, and the Union should be in a position to control the way this money is spent at national level.
Any job is a job. No, this is not the European social model. This is not the European social model. We need to have the double fight. We need to have people in a job, but we need to have decent job, and we need to fight for equal treatment, equal right for equal job, because otherwise we will lose the competition. Because if you go down this idea that any job is good, well, you end up with a situation where you have, I don't have time to describe what's happening with the posting workers directive, but I've qualified this kind of situation as modern slavery situation, and this is not acceptable.